Hi there. Today we talk about the funny dominants. There's about 7 funny dominants that we can encounter. And our normal train of thought is the dominant is either a 5th degree or it's a secondary dominant, meaning it is leading to another degree because that other degree feels itself very important and says, hey, before I enter, I send my 5th degree. So though the dominants that we encounter like that are numerous and it's fantastic, but there's a few that we need to look at. The first and maybe the most important one is the dominant 7th chord that we find on the 2nd degree of a major scale. We find that a lot, in fact, in jazz. That dominant, you would think, yeah, but that's simple, Hein. That's the 5 of the 5. The thing is that it's very rarely acting like that. Because if it would be the 5 of the 5, it could have a flat 9. It could have a little leading tone. I know the flat 9, D flat 7, flat 9, that E flat doesn't belong in the tonality of G, but that's also the case for G7 when we go to C. The A flat doesn't belong in C major, but it's an extra leading tone. Now if we approach D7 as the 5 of 5, it kind of sounds like this. Here is the 1 chord. Here is the 5 of 5. Perfect. And I'm going to play the flat 9 and you will see that works. And that's fine. But what is the problem? It's almost never used like that. Almost never. And actually you know it. You know it deep down inside because you know that D7 most of the time is followed by D minor 7. If we take the incredibly famous tune that in fact tells it all, now what is the melody note? It's an E and a beautiful G sharp. That lays bare the essence of that chord. And what is the chord afterwards? D minor 7. If we take a tune like There'll Never Be Another You, and we go halfway the tune, we go from the 4 chord, 1, 6, there's D7. It's a static chord. That chord does not just lead to G7. It's standing there. It's almost a 2nd degree, but with a dominant coat on. It's got a color of the dominant chord, but it's still the 2nd degree. And therefore, I name this chord not 5 of 5, because it doesn't act that way. I name this chord 2 dominant. The ruler of this chord is just as much C major, the tonality, as it is a chord that leads to G7, because the F sharp in it, I understand, the F sharp in it, and the C, that tritone that is hidden in that D7, is still there, even if it doesn't resolve there, it has that tendency. So 2 dominant, beautiful. That means when you see that chord, play it with a normal 9, a normal 13, and a sharp 11, because the 11 would be impossible. Very important. All right, that's the first one out of the way. If you look in any real book, it's full of 2 dominants. And what you play on top of it, actually, by the way, is Lydian flat 7, which I find difficult to make it sound melodically attractive. So what I play on it is A minor melodic. There's A minor. Completely lovely notes on that D7 resolving to D minor 7. Okay, a variation of this phenomenon we see on the 6th degree. It's much more rare, but it happens. And there is a tune that really exposes this, and that's the tune My Ideal. So here we have C, 1st degree. Then we have A7 with a B in the melody. That's the normal 9. So to say A7 is the butler chord, is the secondary dominant for 2 is simply not true. This B is there, and it makes, it's almost like it's an A minor chord. See that A7 is ruled by the tonic, by C major, and is not just in service as the 5th for D minor, what a secondary dominant would be. If I would play this tune with a B flat in the melody, it would be a little bit less attractive, but all of a sudden the whole landscape changes. Listen to this. A7 flat 9. We could even do E half diminished A7. But it's not the song. That's not the song. And the melody is not B flat. The melody is beautiful B. So what is the name of that chord? 6 dominant. It's a chord on the 6th degree of the scale, and it's got a dominant coat on. It's got that leading point C sharp going to D minor, but it's not a secondary dominant for D minor. Good. Those are the 2 very important ones. Now the blues. As we know, jazz comes from blues. The blues with its blue notes is very important for the language of jazz. Now if we take one of the most important degrees within a major tonality, it's the 4th degree. It's also the 1st degree, but it's the 4th degree as well. What we now see very often is that 4th degree, which normally should be obviously major 7, is not played as a major 7, but as a dominant 7. If we take Body and Soul, for instance, in the key of C, F7, F7. So normally that would be a major 7. That doesn't sound like jazz, it sounds like pop music. And there's nothing wrong with it, but we see F7. F7 sounds very good. F7 is actually the 4th degree with a blue note added. So the 4th degree as a dominant chord is not a functional dominant chord. That tritone, which is hidden in there, doesn't want to resolve. That's not the case. It is simply a degree to which you add a blue note. That's it. And don't come with like it's a tritone substitute of B7 that goes. It's just not true. As you can hear, it's not true. It is a fourth degree, loud and clear, but it's got a blues color. The same we see on the first degree. And where do we see it already very clearly? In the blues. Now, the first degree should be major 7. But that's not the case. What do? We add a 7th to it. And that is just the first degree with a blue note added to it. It's not a functional dominant chord. It's a color, just like the fourth degree in a blues chord is a color. The most beautiful one chord in a blues color, in fact, is Loverman. Now here we go. C7 with a B flat added, the 7th, the blue note 7th, and the minor 3rd. And that's 4 blues. So these two chords are non-functional dominant chords. They appear as dominant chords. Don't even think about playing some kind of weird alterations on top, because it just simply won't work. And I call these chords 4 blues and 1 blues. In major, these are the only blues chords we have. There is also one that we encounter in a minor tonality, and that is on the 6th degree. The 6th degree in minor, as you know, if we are in C minor, would be A flat, major 7. Sounds like pop music. In jazz, and let's take this beautiful song Angel Eyes. Can you hear it? Six blues. And we even encounter that chord in a major environment sometimes, where we borrow a chord from minor. What we borrow from minor? 6 blues. And the more pedantic, nerdy people amongst us that know about the augmented 6th chord and know that the augmented 6th chord is a chord that looks and sounds like a dominant 7th chord on the lower 6th degree. Sorry, I'm going a little fast here. They say, no, this must be a German 6th chord. It's not. A German 6th chord exists, it's beautiful, but a German 6th chord means that this note is an F sharp. That's what is typical about the augmented 6th chord. A flat, bass, and an F sharp on top of it, and then a C, and in the case of a German one, the E flat. Where does that chord want to go to? F sharp wants to go to G. And that's beautiful. Beethoven, the whole 18th, 19th century, that chord was there in abundance. But it has nothing to do with the blue note that is part of A flat 7 with its G flat blue note with its blue note added. Okay, very good. So now we have the first 5. We have the 2 dominant, we have the 6 dominant. Then we have the 4 blues, and we have 1 blues, and we have the 6 blues in minor. Fantastic. Now there is one that is very interesting, and it's been nagging me for 40 years. And that is the 1 chord that goes to the 4 chord in minor. And you kind of have a feeling that nothing happens harmonically. If I do this, I feel there's nothing happening. We're just in C, we're in C minor. There's an inner voice movement, of course, and there's also a bass movement. But I feel harmonically nothing is happening. If we would go C minor to F minor, oh, you would feel it. You feel it's like 1, 4, 1, 4. There's a real harmonic movement, but this is, it seems meaningless. And in fact, when we end the ballad in C minor, let's do Autumn Leaves in C minor. C minor 6, we can put an F in the bass, it doesn't matter. It's meaningless. It's not like, oh, it goes to another function, it goes to another degree. No, F7 is a variation on C minor. I call this the 4 tonic. It's the most mysterious chord ever. It's a chord that has a dominant color, F7. It is built on a sub-dominant degree, the 4th degree, and it's got a tonic function. Go figure. That's weird, but it's beautiful. There's one composition where it stands out very much, and that's Wave by Jobim. We come from A flat 7. So he ends on minor, and he does this meaningless toggling between the 1 minor chord and the 4 dominant. So 4 tonic, that's what it is. Keep your eye out for it. And then our last and 7th funny dominant is the one we know already. It's part of the Moll-Dur family. When we have VII Moll-Dur, which is B flat 7, it's a dominant 7 chord. 4th degree, 4 minor, 4 Moll-Dur, 7 Moll-Dur, and it resolves, of course, back to 1. That B flat 7 is a variation on F minor 6. It's a variation on F minor 6. And it's not a dominant chord in a dominant function, as if it has a tritone inside, which it does, A flat and D. But that A flat and D is not full of tension wanting to resolve outwards or inwards. It's just simply not true. The essence of the Moll-Dur is that the F wants to go to E and the A flat wants to go to G. And the rest is stuff on the top. B flat 7, So 7 Moll-Dur is a dominant chord, but it's not a functional dominant chord. It's a color. It happens to come out as a dominant, but it's not a functional chord full of tension that wants to resolve outward or inward. It's simply not true. It's a subdominant chord that wants to go back in a plagal cadenza back to the 1. So, very quickly, all 7, 2 dominant, very important. 6 dominant, then we have 4 blues and 1 blues, very common. Then we have 6 blues in minor, quite common as well. Then we have the somewhat meaningless dominant chord on the 4th degree of the scale in minor, which we call 4 tonic. And then we have 7 Moll-Dur. Great. Okay, think about this, open your real book, look at a bunch of standards and apply these thoughts to it, and you will see that your understanding of what's happening will grow every time you do that. Good luck.